Hi, this is Brandon. In this video, we're going to dive into the DM Toolkit. In previous videos, we've already gone through campaign creation, and now we're going to see how we actually create things to play a game of Dungeons & Dragons with our friends. So I'm just going to enter into the DM Toolkit's dashboard here, where we're greeted by the DM Toolkit dashboard. A few real quick notes about the dashboard. There are some things about the dashboard that are still in development, namely potions, items, world custom rules, and a cheat sheet. Those things weren't necessarily needed early enough to actually play a game of Dungeons & Dragons, but the following things do function and function how they're supposed to. The monsters, the NPCs, maps, and tokens, and that's what we're going to go through in this short video. So, as you can see, I already have quite a few monsters created, and this is for the live session area with my friends in the States, but we're going to walk through creating a new monster, show how we edit and delete them, and then move on to NPCs and maps. So let's start with new monster. So we have a number of things that we can enter in here. I'm not going to be entering them all in, but we'll make a basic monster for now. We'll call it the YouTube monster. We'll give him a type of... I'm not really sure what kind of type we want to give him. Let's give him humanoid. Let's make him chaotic good. Give him an armor class. Give him some hit points, maybe 38, and then hit dice. Some of these things are very specific to how one would play an actual game of Dungeons & Dragons, and if you don't understand the actual rules behind the game, that's fine. You don't need to understand how the application works. We'll just go from here. Select size. This is to determine the token size of the creature we're creating. We're going to select medium here, and then we're going to scroll down. I'm going to skip all through this, and we're going to choose a file from our desktop to represent our YouTube monster. So I'll go with a monster entry. I'll use this image here. And then, and then we'll save the monster. So now our YouTube monster is shown here. Here's why the campaigns are important. So in the last video, we saw two campaigns, the first one being Whispers Beneath the Moon. That's my current live campaign that we're running. And we have YouTube Test Campaign. I'm going to select YouTube Test Campaign. What this does is it assigns this monster to this campaign. And then when we click on it, we get a nicely done monster entry that we can see and export as a PDF if we want to share with our friends. Just some more, one of my better ones I've done so far, I think was this one, the Shroom Decacap. This is a monster I'm using in the campaign. It's a pretty funny image, but it's got all the things that a monster entry from the actual Dungeons & Dragons handbook would have. And we can see here we have traits and actions and descriptions. Now, you might ask, well, why is this important? So, if we go to our campaigns, and then we launch this campaign. Remember, we assigned that monster to the YouTube Test Campaign, and we launched the campaign. We have a button here for monsters or creatures, and then that monster or creature pops up here. When we click on it, we can see our entry that we added in. And the same thing goes for the NPCs and a few other things that are in the DM's Toolkit. So let's go back to the toolkit, move on to NPCs. The NPC process is largely the same as it is for monsters. We do the same exact thing, pretty much. And then, of course, we can edit them however we would like to, and update, save the NPC. And we can also delete them if we want. I'm not going to delete any. Well, I guess we can delete one. Let's delete the YouTube monster just because. And now he's gone, and it's not going to show up in our campaign anymore. And just so that we have something to look at later, I'm going to assign this to the YouTube test campaign. Now let's move on to something a little more fun. So this is the Maps Manager inside of the DMToolkit. Obviously, we have some maps here that we've already assigned to our campaigns. I already assigned this map to the YouTube test campaign. If I click on it, it will pull up our map. We're controlling the zoom with the zoomable stage in Canva. We can click to drag our map around. We have quite a few things that we can do here. The maps have different layers. They have a DM layer. They have a player layer. We can edit the size. We can edit what number the token is. We can delete the tokens. But this is what a player or a user would use in order to prepare for a game of Dungeons & Dragons before the session or before the actual meetup with the friends would happen. So then we can move tokens around as we want. In the session view, tokens snap to the grid, and we have a few other options that we can do with the map. Then over here to the left, we have a list of our tokens that we can add as we want. And for example, I'll just drag this guy, and he's going to appear on the DM layer. Tokens that appear on the DM layer are shown up with opacity. And I think it's at 50% is what it's set to. But we can also move him to the player layer. We can edit his size if we want. We can make him large. We can make him humongous. We can do all sorts of things with the tokens here. As far as loading a map goes, we can choose our campaign, YouTube test campaign, is what I'll assign it to, and I'll name it test map. And the width and height here are how many squares tall and how many squares wide our map is. So for example, how many squares to the left and right we have, and how many squares up and down that we have, width and height, obviously. So I'm going to choose a file to upload. I'll go to my maps. Actually, I'm going to go to a different file. We'll do one of these. Yep. So here, it helps if the file name has. It helps if the file name has the width and height already there for you, so I don't have to look it up. And then we can add the map. So I add the map, and then we search for it. Test map. Boom, there it is. And then our map loads. So now going back to the campaign, we launch the campaign. In our maps panel, you can see that we have both of these maps that we assign to the campaign, and then we can load either one of them. Now, the maps for live syncing, we're using socket.io, and these maps are transferred to the socket for other users to see as the DM loads them onto the map. So everything that happens with the map, all token updates, everything, happens in real time, and DMs and users see them at the same time. The next feature that we need to go through is going to be actual tokens. Here you can see that I have a token that is not an NPC or a creature. And what those are for things like carts that don't have HP. They're not an NPC or a creature, so we need to have ways to create new tokens that we can use on the map to represent things. And those tokens can also be dragged and dropped onto the map. So for example, toolkit tokens. I'm going to show you another feature here, but I'm looking for the mirror token. We have search functionality, and then I can place that mirror token onto the map. So I actually did give this mirror an HP bar, and the reason I gave it one is because in my campaign, my users will have to break mirrors to get through a certain room. And that's why these mirrors have an HP bar. So, back to the DM toolkit. I think that's pretty much it for the toolkit. Those are the main basic things that one would need in order to create in order to play a game of Dungeons & Dragons on the application. And that was it for the DM toolkit. Thanks for watching.